Microsoft sends out an email. Publishers panic. Something called pre-bid cash is dying on April 30th, and half of them didn't even know they were paying for it. Some were burning $250,000 a month on it. Then my guest today goes and logs his own system and finds out the thing everybody's mourning was never necessary in the first place. The creative was already sitting right there in the browser. Lotem Karmon, VP of Operations at Primus, on the ad tech apocalypse that wasn't. Let's go!
Welcome to the ADOTAT Show. My guest today is Lotem Karmon, VP of Operations at Primus. On April 30th, Microsoft is shutting down the pre-bid cache that handles over 60% of programmatic video infrastructure. Most publishers are panicking about which replacement to buy. Lotem logged what was actually happening in the browser, discovered the cache was sending data on a round trip nowhere, and just delete it. He thinks the biggest myth in ad tech is that complexity equals sophistication, and that simple is the ultimate performance metric. Lotem, welcome. Let's talk about why everyone is buying replacement for something they never needed. First question is, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Lotem, can you explain the pre-bid cache crisis? Like, I'm a publisher who just got emails saying Microsoft is turning off something I didn't even know I was using. What is breaking exactly on April 30th, and why should I care?
Yes, so actually the announcement went quite big and making publishers worry quite a bit about it, and this is actually the reason we wanted to speak about it a bit further. In simple, it's like I just thought about it today, about like how to explain to my kid about it. Like all the toys are in the basement, stored there, but you don't actually need to go to the basement every time. And it might be available also in the room. So this is it. It's not that complex as being explained.
Can you walk me through the discovery? You logged production bidder responses across your network, and then you found, and this is very little complex, that every bidder was returning the full vast XML creative payload in browser memory at auction close. The creative was already there. The cache was sending it on a round trip to an external server and back for absolutely no reason. When you realize that, what was the reaction of the room? Because we have been doing something pointless for years is either an eureka moment or just plain embarrassing.
Yeah. So first, to be honest, when we got the announcement from Microsoft, they're shutting it down, we quite worried the rug is kind of being pulled out.
Right.
And that we need to invest in a complex technology and maybe buy something or more than that and develop it. Yet after we managed to log our system, we saw that actually 100% of the creatives return a full vast XML. And at least in our case for Primus, since we're the video player, the ad server and everything for our publishers, we have access to it directly, so we still do caching and everything. Yet
why doesn't pre-bid just update itself to not require a cached URL when the creative is in the memory?
So I don't know to say exactly why pre-bid is forcing you to place the cache URL. Yet,
right?
At least in our case, we figured this out while doing some testing that it's simply not needed. Actually,
because Patrick McCann at Raptus, he said that the average monthly costs to cache video is $50,000 to $250,000 for most publishers. You just showed that for a publisher's bidders return a full vast XML, those costs are not necessary. So how much in the industry is being wasted? How much money in the industry is being wasted?
I don't know to say this vastly across the whole industry, but in our case, since we sit on the actual publisher page with our technology, we don't need to invest in it. And we simply have the full creative being returned within the bid response. So we simply cache on it and use it.
So Microsoft's withdrawal from open programmatic infrastructure, they first shut out Microsoft Invest Deep SB, now the pre-bid cache. You said this is part of a broader shift towards AI-driven advertising products. Is Microsoft abandoning the open programmatic ecosystem?
If last touch attribution worked, your waiter would get full credit for the meal. We make sure the chef gets credit too. Incremental.
I don't think it means that they are abandoning it or anything like that. I think they will still be here and be close to the market trends. Yet, for me, I think for years they wanted access to the data, and this is why they also offer this as a free-to-use product of their own, and maybe they're rethinking their budgets and their priorities.
So moving on, you also said that we developed this complexity bias where we feel safer when things are harder to explain. That's one of the most honest descriptions of ad tech I've ever heard. Can you walk me through why the industry gravitates to complexity? Is it because the complex systems demand higher fees? Because complex explanations prevent clients from asking hard questions, or maybe because engineers believe more moving parts means better engineering?
So while saying that our industry is like being dramatic, I think we all feel it every month or so with very big announcement about different apocalypse. Yet, even though, yes, some of the stuff are complex in our system, it doesn't have to be that complex. And taking the Microsoft Cache example, we figured this maybe the hard way, but at least we figured it out after years of simply relying on something that, okay, we didn't really need it. Maybe years ago we needed to go to cache the creative from a different server, but at least for today, we don't need it.
You also said that a clean, efficient system has nowhere for errors to hide. It's a beautiful sentence. It's also extremely terrifying for most ad tech companies because if errors cannot hide, revenue leakage becomes visible. Is the industry complex on purpose to hide inefficiency?
So I don't think it's actually on purpose, yet I do think that once you make things at very best in our complex industry, you do have the leverage to gain out of it. Even with this example, even if we didn't intend to gain this as a revenue uplift, we gained like 1% in revenue just because of simply removing it and not relying on external server that in some cases have some latency, in others some failures, and who knows, not only making the code look cleaner and simpler, we actually managed to gain out of it.
Did anyone at Primus push back when you proposed eliminating the cache? Did anyone say this feels way too simple to work?
To be honest, we have like an internal forum where we discuss all the different monetization tasks and everything. And at the beginning, the idea sounded a bit not 100% that it can actually work.
Like, how did nobody notice this?
That's what we ask as well. It was quite surprising, but a good surprise at least.
So you also mentioned the move from shiny new thing to overcomplicated mess. You have watched ad tech evolve from a decade. When did the industry cross the line from innovative to way too complex?
It's hard to point to a specific point on the timeline of where it happens. Yet I do think our industry is sometimes moving forward, but then backwards in the same time.
Do you think header bidding was a point of complexity that wasn't needed?
I do think header bidding was needed. The old days before header bidding were a complete mess, and I don't think the auction mechanics worked, at least for the publisher point, maybe for the Google side. I think that actually it makes things a bit smarter, yet since then the way the publisher is activating their header bidding or the rest of their ad stack with all different integrations that came up since, if looking at the previous days, not necessarily we have evolved.
So one of your crazy opinions is that the industry's obsession with disintermediating everything is hurting publishers, and they should be utility providers, not tolls. They make the pie 10 times larger by removing friction. The problem is not the existence of middlemen, is that we stopped distinguishing between value adders and value extractors. You actually work at a company that is an intermediary. Primus sits between publishers and demand. Are you a value adder or a value extractor? And how would I tell the difference?
So yes, Primus is an intermediary. We sit in between, and I think the main question should go to the actual publisher or demand side, whoever, or maybe both, whoever the intermediary is claiming to bring the value. But I think
so who is an example of a value extractor? Can you name a person that is a utility, that is a tax but not a utility?
I think Jones Media, Chris Kane, is actually classifying this quite correctly between rebroadcasting and proprietary placements. At least in most cases that I've seen. Meaning, do I just resell the inventory, or do I bring or add any value on the supply chain?
So you said a world without the right intermediaries is a world without scale, however, but the biggest publisher in the world has been building direct paths to demand precisely to avoid this. The New York Times, the Washington Post, major media companies are all investing in direct sales in private marketplaces. Do you think that they're wrong?
No, I think that as a publisher, I would definitely emphasize and work on my direct connections to both demand, programmatic, direct, everything at once. Yet it, for me, doesn't contradict the fact that intermediaries do bring the value.
Is Google the biggest value extractor?
Sorry?
Or revenue extractor?
Who is? In some cases, yes. Yet, if you look at Google Ad Manager, it does bring some added value to the publisher. It's their ad server, depending on what you look about in Google. I don't think they're necessarily, I wouldn't mark them as a tax taker or stuff like that. But in some cases, yes, they take or they charge too much, maybe.
Well, some people would argue that holding companies, such as, say, IPG, McCann, that those good people might actually be intermediaries. Do you think that most holding companies are value adders or value extractors?
Yes, we're part of IPG, which now Omnicom, yet I don't see why it would count as this. I mean, simply a holding company.
So your superpower is to build anything you can imagine immediately, and you said this is starting to happen with cool tools like Claude Code. You called it infinite scale and said we've moved from the era of hiring a team to the era of prompting a revolution. That's either the most exciting thing in ad tech or the scariest thing happening in employment. Which one do you think it is?
I think it's very exciting, at least for me, the wow effect. Obviously, apart from the very early days that AI, Gemini, chat, everything came along, was the Claude Code. The fact that, for me at least, I don't need to rely on almost anyone, and I can build anything I want, just have the imagination and the workaround is simply being done. This was simply a very big wow for me.
Have you built anything at Premise with Claude Code that you couldn't have done before?
Yes. So actually, we've built some stuff internally at the moment, some internal tools and stuff like that. We've been playing this for quite some time with the rest of the team. I took it for my personal life, a lot of stuff.
So you also said the real superpower today isn't having the answer, it's having the vision and the right AI sidekick. I love that. If execution becomes free, does vision become the only differentiator? If so, what happens with the people whose value is execution?
So I think that they will definitely exist. They still have quite a lot of knowledge.
Right.
Especially at this point when we're standing and seeing the AI, sometimes it's still not the exact perfect stuff, and you still need some human around. And I think we all need to ask ourselves how we evolve, and this is exactly what I tell my teams, especially since I'm at the operations where things are simply being done.
Are you defending your job? Because operations is execution.
No, I think we can definitely make us all much more efficient and clean ourselves to the thinking, to the vision, to the stuff that we want to do extra. I think in EdTech the work is never being done or completed. There is always more stuff that you want to do and you never have the time. So at least now you can clean yourself from the gray work or the nonsense that we just don't need too much brain to do.
So you also spent a decade at Premise. You said you grew up on it, moving through every layer. What was your first job?
So I started 10 years ago as a simple account manager here at Premise. doing both publisher recruitment and stuff like that. And I grew from there and just loved it.
What did young Lotem do at Premise that taught him the most about how the business world actually works?
I think the honesty, it's the stuff that taught me the most. Apart from the numbers and then obviously the professional stuff, I think the honesty of just understanding what you want to do and how you want to do it and just deliver.
So you're also a father of two. You describe yourself as someone who loves having a family. You're also deeply embedded in the infrastructure of programmatic video. When you go home at night, do your kids know what you do? Can you explain to them the pre-bid cash crisis?
So first, I'm actually a father of 3.
Oh, sorry.
All good.
Oh, mazel tov. You got another kid?
And to be honest, my kids know I work on the internet, doing ads on.
They ever blame you for anything? That's your fault. That ad is in the middle of this TV show?
No, but no, not really. They're not that old enough to understand or blame it.
Rapid fire questions before we go. The most favorite thing about working at Premise for a decade?
I think the fact that everything is so quick and never stops for a minute. It just makes the office life move so quick, and not a boring moment.
Worst day you ever had in operations?
I think there were over the years a couple of let's say apocalypse that were supposed to be coming,
right?
But actually, which made those days a bit more nervous. But I think, to be honest, as a young manager, I misplaced one of the pricing rules and simply created quite a big loss for Premise. But I think that you actually learn quite a lot from those mistakes.
Most overrated thing in video ad tech? Just pre-bid cash.
I think they're all looking at it after those years. The changes of placement, PLCMT, and in-stream, out-stream categorization were too much.
Most underrated?
The content value that the user is actually consuming. The editorial wants to be very picky about what they show to their users and the value it brings.
The Claude Code, would you choose Claude Code or a team of 5 engineers?
Depending who are the engineers. No, I'm joking. I think that today still it's a 50-50.
Right.
Very close. I think that a year from now, I will choose Claude Code.
And last question, one sentence you want publishers to remember from this conversation.
First, that if you work at Premise, we've done everything a couple months ago, so no need to worry. And secondly, make things simpler and don't worry about, or at least don't worry too much about big announcements that don't necessarily mean that apocalypse.
So here's what I'm taking home from this one. The scariest email in your inbox is usually a server you forgot you were renting. Lotem and the Premise crew quietly killed the pre-bid cache, found 1% in revenue hiding in the cleanup, and proved the great April 30th apocalypse was really just a basement full of toys nobody actually needed to go fetch. The creative was sitting in the room the whole time. His parting wisdom, and honestly, it's good wisdom, make things simpler. And stop letting big, scary announcements convince you the sky is falling. Half of ad tech is complexity wearing a lab coat. The other half is a cache you can turn off. Thank you to Lotem Karmon, VP of Operations at Premise, father of 3, family grill master, and the rare man who'd bring Chuck Norris to a desert island purely for the firewood. And thank you to the people who keep this show on the air. Troutman Amin LLP. The lawyers you want in the room when the regulators come knocking and the fine print gets weird. And Incremental.com for backing the uncomfortable conversations the rest of this industry is too polite to have. Go give them both your attention. They earned it. This has been the ADOTAT Show. Go turn something off, and I'll see you next week.
tell your boss we said hi. No intimidation, no PR mediation. Hold the line, 'cause baby,